This is the North Carolina Assembly Training Meeting tonight, June 25th, 2024. So for tonight's meeting, we had no new agenda items requested to put on for tonight. Does anyone have any questions or anything for new discussion? Gwen? Oberg?
So I am so sorry to have to bring this to the assembly tonight. But on today's The United States of America podcast, North Carolina Assembly was ambushed with false witness, misrepresentation, and inflammatory rhetoric in the chat by our own assembly members who are also acting as moderators on the podcast. North Carolina Assembly business should stay within the state borders. It's not for public display or to be in international venues unless permission is explicitly granted by the assembly prior. Snippets of our meeting and business matters were posted repeatedly in chat. Before every meeting, the Marshal at Arms reads, bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. So with that, I'm going to make a move tonight that this assembly puts a cease and desist to the podcast facilitator, host, and moderators to not speak directly regarding the North Carolina Assembly or its business, and for us to determine appropriate measures to be taken to prevent this from happening in the future. I yield.
Thank you, Gwen.
Look,
I have a move. Do I have a second?
Lavelle, ma'am.
Thank you, John Michael, second. So any objections?
May
I
I?
don't think anybody know what's going on.
Greer,
Lavelle, ma'am.
just a minute, Lavelle. Greer, did you have something to say?
Yes, I was just gonna say, I think we all probably need some more information before we can vote on anything like that. I wasn't able to listen to the podcast today, so I don't know what happened. I think we all need some more information. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Greer. Jeanette Fisher?
I agree with Greer. I think we need more information. I don't know what's going on.
Rohit Bali?
Yeah, I believe that the podcast is Anna's podcast, so they can talk about any and everything, according to what I know. It's Anna's podcast. I yield.
May I?
Yes, Gwen?
So that's not the case. In order to speak about North Carolina Assembly business, they have to have prior permission to take it in international venue. And so I will tell you that I can read you some of the things that are that were on the podcast in the chat if anybody would like that. I have it.
Please do.
Please do.
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't know if I have them all, but I've got a capture of a bunch of them. Hold on, let me get to them.
In the meantime, Lavelle, did you have something to add?
Yes, and thank you for asking me again after Gwen went twice. So I would just
I'm
like to say,
sorry.
according to Anna's article 4833, it says that you write your own rules written by your own hand, burdening the people. And freedom of speech should be for every woman and man. And that means that if I want to post anything and you have a problem with that, you are stopping my freedom of speech. Now, communication can fix this. No one called me. No one said anything to me. And communication is very important, and we can fix this. I have a question. Are we willing to answer my question? Because we can clear it up.
So is that directed at me? Lavelle?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Is that directed at me? Your question, is it to
Oh,
me?
I'm sorry. Okay, no, I have a question for Jeanette. And I just wanna, it's just a yes or no, and we can move it on because this is how we fix things. Last week, when the vote took place, you said that it came from the Federation. The rule and the punishment came down from the Federation. And I'm just asking, is that correct?
I said that?
Yes, it was at minute 51 and 11 seconds last week.
So, I'm thinking what
Gardenia,
you're
Miss-
referring to, Lavelle. I'm actually not sure, but I think what you're.
I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my audio. I can't hear it.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I think what you're talking about is the consequence, and correct me, please, because I'm thinking this is what you're asking about. The consequence that we voted on last time from Nethi, for Nethi, excuse me, was part of some policies and procedures that were put in place that Cynthia has in hand that we will be working out to make part of our own policies and procedures, code of conduct. Anyway, so those policies and procedures have come down from the Federation. So we use that as a guideline for the vote.
Okay, and what I'm telling you is that on the recording, you said that the rule and the punishment came down from the Federation at minute 51 and 11 seconds. Okay, so that's one question. My next question is for the people who voted yes, not the ones who was involved in the vote. You didn't conjure, plan, orchestrate. For the other people that said yes, I want to know who actually heard Nethi lie, because I'm going to ask you, what exactly did you hear? If you voted yes, I'm asking my assembly members. For those who voted yes, I just need to know, did you actually hear Nethi lie? And if you have, you can just show me your hands. And what did you hear?
So may I object to that question. We already
Well,
did the move.
I have a right to ask the question that's
But
in my
I'm
head.
gonna answer that question.
It's
We
not for you
already
to
did
answer. I'm not asking you, Gwen. I'm asking for those who had no involvement, no conversation, because some people were called about the vote and some were not. And I'm just asking, out of ones that said yes, who actually heard Nathan's lie? And what lie did you hear? So I can hear their perspective. That's all. I'm just asking. Okay, did anybody hear Rohit's lie? Raise of hands, specifically.
It's Neva, may I?
Yes, please.
My hand raising function, I can't find on my screen, or I would have raised my hand because I don't know about Rohit, but I heard Niti say that she wasn't incorporated. I heard her say
Okay.
a couple of times. And then it was pointed out that she was.
Correct.
So I heard that. I heard it.
Okay, so that's one. Okay.
Thank you. I yield.
John Michael, would you like to say something?
So, Lavelle, I'm not sure if you were present for the past weeks when this whole thing rolled out, week after week after week, and Nethi dug herself in deeper and deeper and deeper. But all I'll say is that there are lies of omission and there are lies of commission. And so an honest person who's by definition is not lying would lay the cards down out on the table, especially when they're asked directly. But that's not what happened. And so the whole thing was a lie. And I yield.
Steve Hackett?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I think it was the original time approximately when this came up. I heard the question asked of Neethi about her, whether or not her business was incorporated. And I recall hearing her answer a question with an answer, something to the effect of she has a merchant account. And that was the first answer I recall hearing. And I thought it could have been handled a little bit more directly. So that's why I answered yes, because things kind of kept going and proceeding from there. So that was my interpretation of not bearing an accurate witness. So I don't know about a lie, but I didn't think that was a correct way to answer the question. So I yield.
Okay, so you're saying you don't think that that was a lie? Okay, thank you, and I appreciate that. So that's two, and I would just want to ask, did anybody hear Rohit lie? Because you all also voted him out.
So my hand's up, may I?
Yes, Gwen, I'm sorry.
So I think Rohit was in it basically because in chat, he was typing that it was an unincorporated commercial corporation and a couple other things like that. But if anybody read my second objection, there was tons of conflicts. If anybody listened to the phone call, there were tons of conflicts that were different. So it was totally laid out and we voted yes. And today in the podcast, there were not one, not two, not three, not four, but probably 20, 25 different things in chat that were airing our laundry that we already have voted on and spoke in international venue. And that is not, you can say that you can have your voice, you can have your voice on this assembly, on the assembly meetings, but you can't take your voice regarding our assembly in international venue and air it to everybody else.
Lavelle, may I?
Yes, Lavelle.
Anna said that all meetings are public. And on Article 4873, she explicitly explains the attack of Needy by the North Carolina Assembly for lying. Article 4873, she said a vicious attack. And she also said that it is not right. Article 4873. So there are some people that have never heard Rohit lie and you voted them out. So I'm just saying, new people, pay attention. Pay attention. I yield. And all I needed to, one thing, all I needed to do was ask the questions because I needed clarity on, once again, Scardania said that it came straight from the Federation. And I literally wrote it down, 51 minutes and 11 seconds. And I just needed clarity. I got clarity. Thank you. I yield.
John Michael.
Yeah, so I just want to say that all of our meetings are public, and that just means that everybody can attend. That doesn't mean anything more than that. It's a public meeting. It's on the public square. It's open to everyone. We don't do anything in private. But when you say things in public that are not factually accurate because they're missing key elements of truth, then that becomes falsities, and it becomes it's inflammatory rhetoric. And our public meetings are not places where we're going to hash it out, where we could have people on the podcast defending the North Carolina Assembly. It's not the place for it. And so I don't think just because the podcast on Tuesday is public, that's justification for the things that happen within the assembly to be taken to that international jurisdiction and posted for the whole world to see. And the other point I wanted to make was, and I'm not going to be able to remember what it was now. So I yield.
Tess Walsh.
Thank you. I'd like to make two questions or requests. Number one, I'd like to, I don't even know if this is the correct term, counter move to Gwen that the assembly be allowed a week to ponder her move to have a vote. And yeah, I forgot what I was going to say too, John. Thank you. I yield.
This is John Michael. I remembered my second point. So Anna's article that she just put out claiming that we viciously attacked a church owner. I would challenge you, Lavelle, or anyone else to find out if Anna really had all of the facts before she wrote that article. Anna's human. She's not any different than us. She makes mistakes. She makes rash judgments, and she does things that she probably shouldn't before she knows all the facts. And so I would say that more than likely, that was the case here. Anna didn't have all of the facts. Obviously, she didn't. I yield.
Gwen Oberg.
So John Michael just made the point that I was going to make. And I don't know if anybody wants me to read some of the things that were put in chat today or not. I'll leave that up to the assembly. Greer says yes. Okay, so it started out as on last Tuesday, 6/18, it was said the rule of the punishment came down from the Federation. I think, okay, that was written in public for the podcast, which that's not the proper forum. The next one was the assembly was led to believe that this was a true, that this is true. I don't know what that has to do with it. Those who engineered this vote against Neethi, they want her to never be a chairperson or be elected to any office for the rest of her life. Same punishment for her husband. Is this right? Yes or no? The North Carolina ombudsman was yelled at by the Marshal at Arms, 6/18 General Assembly recording minute 5111, while she was mentioning the 10 commandments, which is also not proper for our ombudsman to step in and give her opinion. And she's supposed to be unbiased. And she was telling us that we needed to, she's asking what's going on here. We're performing government duties is what's going on here. And she was telling us to do the 10 commandments. But while this is the question, while she was mentioning the 10 commandments, integrity, the right to speak, love, and repentance, she was accused of swaying the vote. The ombudsman was agreeing with Anna's Article 4873, North Carolina Assembly members attacked Neethi and her food church. And John Michael has already addressed that. Does the ombudsman have to be silenced of his opinion as a living woman, man, for the duration of his or her time in an ombudsman office? So the ombudsman has taken, I don't know if they've taken an oath, but the ombudsman position is to be unbiased and to be fair and not to give anybody any kind of that we should be praying or that we should be doing anything. They are to be silent until something comes to the ombudsman committee. Okay. And then it says the recording on North Carolina, and then there's a link to our actual, it looks like a link to our actual meeting. Then it says again, I guess, again, Article 4873, Anna said that the owner Neethi were attacked by the North Carolina General Assembly on 6/8/24. Anna writes this article, and 6/18 Neethi was voted to work in the assembly to not work in the assembly for 1 year and to never be a chairman or hold office for the rest of her life. Okay, that's not true. What actually was voted on was 3 months that Neethi and Rohit were to not participate in committees, and for 1 year and 1 day that they couldn't chair. No one ever said after the 3 months was over that they couldn't participate in any committees. So that was a inflammatory rhetoric right there. Untruth, false witness, bearing false witness. Even though Anna says a church in North Carolina disbanded its corporation chapter and removed itself from registration obligations presumed upon itself, the owner operator had been assailed by members of the North Carolina Assembly, accusing them of lying and having foreign allegiances and being ineligible to serve in the, and it ended. Okay, so again, John Michael had already addressed that. And I don't know, maybe as an assembly, we would want to get together and give Anna the rest of the story so that she can maybe retract the article, and whatever she wrote in the article was not true at all.
Lavelle, may I?
I haven't yielded yet. but
Robert, may
sure.
I?
Just a
Robert,
moment,
may I?
just a moment, please. Gwen, finish, please.
Okay. On 6/8, Anna wrote this article, and 6/18, Neethi was voted to not work in the assembly for 1 year in North Carolina Assembly, even though Anna Neethi was attacked by her North Carolina Assembly. And then they removed her in less than 30 minutes. Usually we think about it and come back in a week or two. Not this time. In less than 30 minutes, they voted Neethi out, and not forever. Anna wrote the article, there are no elders. They removed Neethi by vote in less than 30 minutes. Oh, I think that's a duplicate I have. Attack on Neethi by Anna, Article 4873. So this is the same stuff over and over again, just re-put into that chat, like just lambasted. And when I say ambush, I mean ambush. It was ridiculous. And again, about the engineered vote, the same stuff. The North Carolina did this at 1:16. They later slipped in forever. No one ever slipped in forever. John Michael held his vote in case the forever was something that was put in. Neethi is unincorporated, problem solved. Neethi should be teaching us how to unincorporate our business, not kicked out forever in the North Carolina Assembly. Baffling. So, yes, Neethi, if she is unincorporated or whatever, that's great. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was the way that the whole situation was handled, and about not just admitting that she was incorporated and move forward. And then again, the Article 4873 was posted again in chat. And gosh, it goes on. Yes. Somebody else asked, somebody else answered. Then at Susie GOberg, the North Carolina voted her out to not ever work in the assembly. Read all of my above post article, Anna's Article 4873. And then there was at Susie Gathering, she was accused of lying. She is now unincorporated. They voted her out indefinitely. That's a lie. No, we didn't. So, and it continues on last Tuesday, again at 2 o'clock at 2:08. I mean, there must have been a hit repeat button 50 times, 2:12, another one at 2:20, 2:26.
Point of order.
Okay.
Point of order.
I can go on and on. So
Okay.
you all can get the
Thank
chat.
you, Gwen. No, I appreciate that because you were asked to read that out. So at one point, we had a request from Lavelle. Lavelle, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. And I won't take as long. I just want to encourage every assembly member, please read Article 4873. It's the attack of Neethi by the North Carolina Assembly. It's from Anna, and I see that we are now trying to discredit Anna and saying, oh, maybe she can retract her articles. Pay attention, people. Or I think Scardenia said, she didn't know enough, or she didn't have enough information. So see how this is going. Please read Article 4873. And as far as, they were saying, okay, a year and 1 day, but I think it was Scardina who was like, I want to reserve the right that pretty much later he can come in. That was at 1 hour, 6 minutes and 6 seconds, so that it would not end at the year. They didn't vote on it, but it's still looming and lurking. And these are the sneaky, underhanded things that they are not telling the people. And I still don't think that it is correct for me to be silenced, because this is a Nazi type of thing to where I can't say whatever I want, wherever I want to. As a free woman, I should be able to speak and post wherever, and not according to Anna's Article 4833. I'm burdened and I'm prison and put at the town hall square, hung up like a slave for speaking just because you wrote down some words that I should follow. I disagree.
Come
I-
on.
Robert, did you ask for may I to speak before?
I did
Okay.
several
this is
times,
for-
but just nobody's
okay.
heard me, walked on me all night.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, I've asked several times and I don't know whether you were getting through or I
I
seem
can't
like people
tell
were
because
walking on me all night. So,
I'm sorry, your phone just has a number on it, so I actually wasn't even hearing you try to come through. I'm sorry.
okay.
So who's
Anyway,
speaking? Robert, what is your last name?
Scott?
Robert. Oh, this is Robert Scott? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I was on earlier and I had to get off and get back on because nobody was hearing me. Lavelle was asking about who had heard people lie. I heard Nathan lie. I heard her lie about being incorporated when she was, or wasn't when she was. And I heard her lie about being vetted by the Federation and by Anna to be on the international business when she wasn't. And I heard Anna come back and clarify that she wasn't. I also listened to subsequent comments from Neethi in podcasts where she told half-truths and twisted facts by leaving out context to get Anna to believe what she got Anna to believe. And Anna responded without checking her facts because she believed what what Neethi had to say. Well, that isn't true. She learned what Neethi was telling her wasn't true. And all of that has come out since that article, Lavelle. So that's to address number one. The second thing I want to address is this issue with Neethi it's an important issue, and everybody, you're right, Lavelle, people should be paying attention. And to the extent that you can say what you want to say, anybody can say what they want to say. Yes, that's true, as long as it's factual. And when somebody tells you it is not factual, you get with them and you find out, why isn't it factual? Instead of jumping on the social bandwagon. We are not here as a democracy. We are not here for social justice. We are here for facts and truth and state business. And you guys have made a mockery tonight. By listening to a bunch of catcalls. This is not business conduct. Shame on you all. What Gwen had to say before was said clearly. It was factual. And because you guys, maybe you didn't hear it, Maybe you were doing something else during the actual meeting. Maybe you weren't there. But you didn't take time to go back and listen to the facts. All you did was take somebody's word, and the person you listened to was the person who was accused of lying. It's no more complicated than that. I yield.
Thank you, Robert. John Michael?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a point about Lavelle, and when she was speaking immediately before we were taking a vote, and I know that there was, among many other things, that was addressed in the chat, in the podcast, and I think even directly Anna answered a question relating to that. But again, Anna wasn't given all of the facts. So Lavelle has, I mean, Lorraine, no, Loria has the right to speak, and she has her own opinion, and she can voice that opinion. But voicing that opinion and using her position as ombudsman to voice that opinion immediately before a vote is highly improper. You can look at the de facto. They have a rule that you can't campaign within 100 feet of the door of a voting station, and that's the same thing. You can't campaign immediately as someone's going to make a vote. And so none of those facts were given to Anna before Anna answered that question. And then Anna's answering that question was being used to further support this false narrative that something wrong has happened here. And it hasn't. Because without all of the facts and the context, those little snippets thrown out in international jurisdiction where nobody else knows any different is inflammatory rhetoric, and it's damaging to our assembly. And if we're here to build this assembly, but yet we're engaging in that behavior, then something's wrong, because the two can't coexist. I yield.
Thank you. Lavelle?
I would like to say that men and women are sovereign. Just like the Virginia documents that we all were presented with. Dominic sent the email, we could have all signed it. We're sovereign. It was up to us on whether we signed it or not. Same thing with the ombudsman. If she speaks, well, people are sovereign and they can decide if they want to listen to her or believe her or not. At the time, she was talking about the 10 Commandments. She was talking about love. And if that is going to sway the vote, then the people are sovereign to decide for themselves whether they say that this is hogwash or not. Just like the Virginia documents, we could sign them or we could not. At the end of the day, it's up to us. Now, when we say that Nethi lied, members of the assembly go to her physical corporation public building. She's on social media. She has a website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why would she lie about having a business corporation when you all, some of them are actually going to her physical business corporation and for years? So if she lied, why would she lie when everybody, there's a lot of people right here and right now who have physically gone to her corporation, her business. So I just say for the people, I can't say I can say it, but I can't make you think. I yield.
Robert, may I?
I'll let Robert go first and then go next.
Okay, Robert Scott?
Lavelle, I want to just say that I pray for you and I respect you, and I want you to listen close. When your mother ran for ombudsman, it was made clear to her, because I was right there beside her, and it was made clear to me too, that the ombudsman had no voice in the assembly. We had to reserve our own comments, our own opinions, so that we would not bias ourselves, and nobody could argue the fact that we had biased ourselves. We had to remain objective. And that is not what Loria has done. Loria has biased her opinion, or she's biased her objective, or compromised her objective is what I'm trying to say. I apologize. She's compromised her objective because of a bias which is based on personal relationships and not on fact. And I know that's hard for people to get. We're coming out of indoctrination. We're coming out of an area where people are hanging people on Facebook and all these other social venues because of what they see, but they don't see the whole thing. When people put a clip up, it just shows the bit that incriminates somebody. It doesn't show the reason. Or when somebody tells part of a story, it's only part. But that's what gets heard, and it fuels opinions of people who don't know or aren't taking in the whole picture. That's what we have here, and it's no more complicated than that. I don't know, we all, regardless of whether you've been on the assembly a month, 6 months, or a year or longer, if you take that number of months for everybody in here, if everybody said, okay, I'll take the number of months I've been on the assembly and add 1 month. Well, you could take everything at that month of everybody collectively in terms of what they knew about reconstructing a self-governing state, and you could put on top of a straight pen. So we are all learning. We all are at different levels. Some of us put in 3 hours a week. Some of us put in 8 or more hours a day. The people that are putting in the most time are the people who are becoming most helpful. They're most aware. It makes sense that if you are doing this, and excuse me, I'm losing my voice. It makes sense that if you put the time forth and you're learning from what's going on, you don't take any one article, no matter who writes it, and say that it's gospel. You take a collection of information and then you go through the logic. And that's what we're all challenged to do as self-governing people. And it hurts me in a bad way to sit and listen to us bicker one week and then the other about the same topic, because it's not about Nethi. It's not about you. It's not about any one of us. What we're here to do is what's best for this state. And if you can't see the truth and operate around the truth and the facts, then just take some time and step back. Observe for a while. Watch the process grow. And when you feel like you're ready to step in and you can deal with things on a factual basis, then by all means, jump in. And in the meantime, jump into the committees. You don't have to lead one. Jump into the committees and participate. Ask questions. If you I don't know what people's interests are, but my advice, if I may,
I need you to
find
yield,
something that,
Robert.
okay, well,
Make your
find
last
something you
point.
like. I'm working on it.
Okay,
Find something you like and get involved, and don't back away when you hear something you don't like, because you're going to hear a lot you don't like. I hear a lot I don't like. With that, I yield.
thank you, Robert. I'm sorry. Tess Walsh. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you. I took a leave of absence last week, starting last week, from the assembly, or it might have been the week before, to take care of my home life. I also intended to take a break from the podcast. My husband, Stephen, listened, but we were not able to communicate either by talking or voting last week. So the move was presented I have a point to this, so bear with me. The move was presented last week and the vote was taken at the same time. And I also heard that a proxy vote was accepted. So since I was on a leave of absence from the assembly and the committee work, I did not know there was going to be a vote. Neither did Stephen. It wasn't in the agenda. It was just that there was going to be a move. So my question today now, that's water under the bridge, what happened last week. My question today is I want to clarify the move of Gwen. Are we voting to dissolve the podcast is my first question. And my second question is, if that is the move or whatever move we're making, do we always cast the votes at the same time, or are we allowed a week to ponder? And with that, I yield. Thank you.
So we are not making a move to ban the podcast. We have no authority for Anna's podcast. We are making a move that the facilitator, the host, and the moderator not be able to speak or not speak about and regarding the North Carolina Assembly's business on the podcast. That podcast is not supposed to be affiliated or in any way connected with the North Carolina Assembly. Yet somehow or other, it seems to continuously be linked and affiliated with us. So we're saying we want something on the record that it's no, you can't. So you can be on podcast all day long, but you don't take North Carolina Assembly business to the podcast. And to your second question, sure, there's some times where there's a move and there's a week or there's 2 weeks before a vote. I don't know. Maybe we take a vote from the assembly members that want to do some research. They want to go back and look at they want to re-listen to the meetings, and they want to listen to the international business pillar, and they want to read all the objections, and they want to look at all of the evidence and the facts, and then look at the podcast and look at all of the things that were written. I don't know. This is my first time doing this. I wish we could be doing business to stand up our pillars instead of this kind of stuff. This is crazy to me, but I can't sit back and just let it keep going. And I would prefer to be not the one speaking up, but I can't not speak up when something's wrong. So with that, I yield.
Thank you, Gwen.
May I? It's Tess.
Yes, Tess.
Thank you, Gwen, for clarifying. And I am one of the moderators on the podcast off and on. And Lavelle there are 2 other moderators, and Lavelle had communicated with the other moderator and I that she would not be able to moderate today so I just wanted to then let the assembly know that she was not acting as a moderator. Wendy, that doesn't retract from, I know what John Scardina is going to say, that doesn't retract from the objection to the business being aired during the podcast in the chat. So I just wanted to clarify that, and I thank you. I yield.
Joe, may I?
Yes, Joe McDougal.
By me not listening today and hearing all the, information, I'm asking for some time so that I can do some research. I yield.
Thank you, Joe. Do you want to say something?
So may I?
Yes, Gwen?
So it feels like Tess has asked for a week before we actually take a vote. It feels like Joe kind of seconded it. I mean, how does it work? If you have a move in a second and then somebody comes in and does another move in a second, does that trump I have no idea how this is actually supposed to work. For sure.
Dominic, do you have any guidance for us on that?
We're supposed to vote on the second or on the second alternative to give a week or not give a week, as I understand it. And then based on that, we either have the vote for
sense.
Gwen's move tonight or next week, depending on how that first vote comes. I yield.
Thank you,
That
Robert.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Rosalie Murphy?
I think we should give it a week, have a week to ponder this before we vote instead of moving hastily. I yield.
Thank you, Rosalie. Steve Hackett?
You're welcome.
In case anybody is doing additional research by watching the replay of the podcast, I was watching it earlier and I didn't watch it live, but I was watching the replay earlier and didn't get through the whole thing yet, but I never noticed those comments. And now that I look at it and refresh, they were all deleted as far as I can tell. So if anybody's doing research, all we have is screenshots that were captured by somebody else at this point. So I don't think we're going to find all that information on YouTube. So
Steve,
I yield.
may I, Steve?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. They're in the chat. I think are you looking in the chat? We're talking about the live. We're talking about the live chat on the live stream podcast. It's I think you have to click down a box to get to or it's along the bottom line. I can
May I, Tess?
Thank you. I yield.
May I?
Yes, thank you, Gwen.
I think we figure they're deleted, but Tess, if you could you capture them and send them to Dominic so he could send them out by chance? Well, I guess after we vote, I guess we should firstly we should vote, right? I yield.
Cynthia Kingston?
I have 6 pages of chat from off the podcast today. If proof and evidence is needed, I'm willing to supply the proof and the evidence of who said it and what they said. I have 6 pages of proof and evidence that I'd like to enter into the record right now. I yield.
Thank you, Cynthia. Would you send that to Dominic? Thank you. John Michael?
What I would like to do is compare those screenshots from earlier today to what's in the recording now, because I believe there's a very good chance that they're not going to match, and that in and of itself tells a tale. I yield.
Robert, may I?
Yes, Robert Scott.
If that discrepancy exists, John, that is proof of dishonor and fraud. You can't make a published podcast and then go back and filter the recording of it and not show everything that was shown in the live version. That also is fraud. I yield.
Gwen, do you still have your hand up? You're muted, Gwen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lowered it. No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Joseph?
Yes, Joseph, thank you. When was this podcast you're talking about? Was this today or
Yes, it was today.
what's today? Okay, 6 hours ago.
I think it's about 1 o'clock. Yeah, about 1 o'clock, so about 8 hours ago.
Okay. Thank you. I yield.
Thanks, Joseph. Anyone else?
Gloria.
Yes, Loria?
Okay. I'm almost afraid to speak, but I know I can as the ombudsman here. And I'm praying for our assembly. Now, no one can stop me from saying these things. I'm praying for the assembly that we need to come together as a people and try to resolve all this stuff that's going on, because it's a lot that's happening that I think if we get together, like you said, give everyone some time to think about this and know what's happening. And I'm not trying to sway anything. I'm using the 10 commandments that we abide by. We're supposed to abide by. And I'm trying to figure out what and why is this happening to us. It seems like our pillars are not going to go up if we keep divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Our pillars will never go up like this. Where is the love? Anna said it in one of her articles. We have to love people, each other. Where is the love? And I, as the ombudsman, don't feel like we're loving one another. That's our 10 commandments, what we're supposed to be doing. Number one, what are we doing? And so all I know is I'm praying for the assembly. We all need to course correct, repent, and do what we know is right to do. Every last one of us, be included. If I've done something wrong, I stand right here now to say, forgive me if I've done something wrong. We all should be big enough, men enough, women enough to stand and say that to one another in love and in kindness, that integrity. That's what we walk by. And if we're telling lies one to another and doing all these different things, that's not right. We are sovereign people walking by the 10 commandments. Go back and study this. I love you guys, and I hope we get this stuff straight. I yield.
Thank you, Loria. Neva?
I just wanted to say that I think you can love everyone unconditionally and still be disappointed in a lie. Why someone lies, who knows? I personally would have just been happy with, hey, you guys, I'm really sorry. I don't know why I didn't tell the truth right up front, but I've corrected it and I hope you accept my apology. I would have been happy with that. I don't think holding someone accountable for not being the level of integrity that they appear to be is not loving. It is loving, in fact. And it's unfortunate that we can't just do smooth sailing, but this is growing pains. And I just, we have to be patient with the process and try to be kind through it as much as we can. And I think we are. And that's all I wanted to say. I yield.
Thank you, Neva.
Gloria, may I?
Yes, Loria.
And as you're saying, Neva, you're absolutely correct, but it goes for all of us. It goes for all of us. We have to check ourselves. It don't mean that maybe she lied or he lied. Somebody else could be lying. I don't know, but we need to find out and get it straight. Or look, we all make mistakes. Anna said it in one of the articles too. We all make mistakes. And so why are we trying to pick this baby apart or whatever we're doing when we all make mistakes? All we have to do is course correct. Every last one of us. Every last one of us make mistakes. And we have the right to correct it, course correct, which is called repentance. That's what we all need to do, or our courts are going to be divided. That's de facto stuff. We're not walking under de facto. We're not walking like those people. We are sovereign. We're honest. We're people of integrity. We're good people. We're alive and well. We can think for ourselves. Oh my God, what are we doing? I yield.
May I?
So Gwen, I want to move to a vote on postponing this, for a week and giving everyone a week. So do you have something more to add?
I do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
So Gloria, you're saying, yeah, sure, we should be doing all that, but we're all not. And some of us don't need to repent and some of us do. So I'm not taking that lecture to heart. And if somebody else needs it, then they can take it to heart. But I don't know why, but I just was thumbing through the chat over here, and Lavelle's back at our chat. You might want to go through it, but she puts at 9:12 lies. We were never given the opportunity to bring it back to the committee to discuss it and bring it back to the assembly. And we've already addressed that like 10 times that we were to object. The international business pillar made requirements. We objected. We did it correctly. I don't know how many times it has to be said that our objections were done correctly. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't any other thing like that. We followed protocol and we voted, and that's that. And so that we need to move on from there. We're on to a new topic now. We're on to this move. And thank you, Jeanette. Please move for a vote. I yield.
Thank you, Gwen.
Gloria, may I?
Yes,
Second
Lorena.
vote. Second
Lorena?
vote for the vote.
No, Gloria, may I? You have to answer me.
Oh, yes.
I'm me. I'm Gloria. I speak
Gloria.
for me.
Gloria.
Wait. I speak for me. Lavelle speaks for herself. I don't know why you're trying to put us together like that, but she speaks for herself. I speak for myself. I'm still praying for the assembly. And Gwen, you don't have to repent. If you don't, I'm not talking to you. Whoever needs to do it, that's who do it.
For the second time, I'm going to call a point of order. Loria, you're praying, your preaching is no good here. There's a separation of church and state, and this is unacceptable here and now. Then stop now. This is unacceptable. I was also one of those attacked in the chat today, and I don't know that we need a 7th week to continue this argument. This is already 6 weeks this has been going on. 6 weeks we haven't gotten any business done. If you weren't on the podcast today, I'm sorry. If you're not here for a vote, I'm sorry. So at this point, the discussion needs to move on to a vote. I turn it back to Mrs. Scardina.
Thank you. So I'm thinking of the right wording for this move, but I would like to make a move to have everybody research, look at the podcast from today, look at the chats in the podcast from today, listen to a couple of podcasts. They're there every week. There was a couple more things that were referred to. Anyway, do your research, do your homework, and we will come back for our next meeting and make a move regarding how to move forward from all of this.
May I?
Yes, Donna?
What exactly is going to be the vote?
So we're
What-
voting to give everyone a week to research, look at everything, look at all the facts, all the evidence that they can see before we make any move. As Gwen was, Gwen, would you remind me what you were actually moving to talk about?
Yeah, vote.
Yes. Okay, so my move was that this assembly put a cease and desist to the podcast facilitator, host, and moderators to not speak directly. I guess we might need to add members too, I guess. Not speak directly regarding the North Carolina Assembly or its business and determine appropriate measures to be taken to prevent this in the future. That was my move. And then the second move that Tess asked that we're going to be voting on first is to postpone the vote of my move to let everybody do research. So that would be the first vote. Do you want to postpone my move vote till next week, or do you want to vote on it now? That would be the first vote.
Well, why do we need to do research? Either we want them to talk about us or we don't. What does
So
it matter? What
then-
happened already?
Well, that,
So
yes,
people
you're right.
asked, yeah.
You're right, Donna, but they are asking for everyone to look at the facts and evidence.
But it isn't a fact and evidence vote. It's, do we want them to talk about us or do we don't? That's it. Yes or no?
True.
What is there to research? What they said? Who cares? Do we want them to do it or we don't want them to do it? I yield.
Thank you, Donna. Joseph, did you have your hand up?
I was going to ask a question that you got answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
I
so
agree to move back to the first vote. Do we want them to talk about us or don't we? That's a simple vote, and it was the first move on the floor.
I second it.
I don't think we need to go back and discuss it any longer. It's been 6 weeks. Give us a show of hands. Who wants them to be allowed to discuss us openly in any form? Put your hand up. I'm taking pictures. Put your hand up. Now, this is who you want to allow to discuss us in any form, any place, anywhere, run us down and say anything they want to say, whether it's true or whether it's not. You're in agreement for that. I have 2 hands. Are there anybody else who believes that they should be allowed to discuss us in any form with an open mic, whether it's true or whether it's false? There are 2. Rohit and Lavelle say you can say anything, whether it's true or whether it's false. Only 2. Please put your hands down. Everybody else who says no, put your hands up.
No.
yeah.
Add a no for Robert Scott. I don't have my hand available.
Thank you, Robert.
No for Pete. My hands don't work on this phone.
And this is who?
Peter Velasquez.
Okay, thank you.
No for Mike Pinkston.
Okay,
So we got
with
two
that,
there.
okay, I don't have my hands available, so that's
We
two
got
then.
Okay,
26,
Joe
27,
McDougal.
28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 32 to 2. The vote carries. No one will be allowed to discuss North Carolina, whether it's true or whether it's not, outside of the assembly business in a forum that's an open forum. Let it be known. I yield.
You put her hand down.
Robert, may
Yes, Robert Scott.
I want to clarify what Cynthia said. Nobody can discuss North Carolina. That is not true. Nobody can discuss North Carolina Assembly business or its members and business going on that pertains to the members or the Assembly on other public venues. I yield.
Cynthia, would you agree with that wording so that can be
That's correct.
restated?
That's correct.
Yes.
Assembly business. That's correct.
Yes. Okay.
May I?
Who's saying may I?
That's Gwen.
Oh, Gwen, yes.
The North Carolina Assembly business. I yield.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Greer, do you still have your hand up?
Oh, no, that was my vote hand. Sorry.
Okay. So Karen Doyle. And Charisma.
I want to talk.
Charisma, you wanted to say something?
I want to talk.
That's
Okay.
that's my husband,
Yeah,
Harvard.
I want to know what the punishment's going to be if they're caught doing it.
Okay.
And
Well,
that will be coming with decorum and policies and procedures in the next couple of weeks. Be prepared. That's coming. We're going to put some policies and procedures in place and decorum as to what's allowed and what's not allowed. Hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Mike, but that is coming. It is currently being worked on. We've got it worked up. We've got a group working, and we're going to put it out for questions.
Just as long as I know that there's going to be there's going to be a
it's July 2nd, 2024. This will be, again, a general business meeting.
I want to bring everybody's attention to this matter. Last week, on June 25th of 2024, the North Carolina Assembly was presented with a move by GOberg. The move brought to the Assembly was to put a cease and desist to the podcast facilitators, hosts, moderators, and Assembly members to not speak directly regarding the North Carolina Assembly or its business, and determine appropriate measures to be taken to prevent in the future. It was seconded by John Scardina. There was a brief discussion and a vote. There were 2 votes against the move, and there were 32 votes in favor of the move. The move passed. After some counseling and reflection, I believe this vote needs to be rescinded. All people have a fundamental right to free speech. We as an assembly were in error, and I'm sorry for that error. I would like to move to rescind the June 25th, 2024 vote to the cease and desist move. Is there a second?
I'll second that comment.
Who seconded? John?
John Michael.
Are there any objections? Are there any nays? And with a show of your hands, can we see those that are in favor?
The marshal at arms finds the count unanimous. The vote be removed. I yield.
All right, so we rolled back the vote. Now, this is very important for everybody now to pay attention to. It's important to be as a reminder that your free speech ends when it violates another person's rights. You take on personal responsibility when you take on slander and libel. That will be met with action, including a court case. You have a duty to not create harm to the assembly. Let me repeat that. Every living man and woman on this assembly has a duty to not create harm to the assembly. And your public airing of the North Carolina Assembly business is your opinion, is harming or could possibly harm the North Carolina Assembly. So in discretion, the North Carolina Assembly is asking you to refrain from discussing the North Carolina Assembly business outside of the North Carolina Assembly. And that also includes sending emails, and this is something that I've spoken about in the past, but it seems to continue for some reason. I am a living man. We have other living men and living women that are a part of our assembly. Because somebody is either a chair of a committee, whether you're elected or that you have been appointed, every single one of us are equals. Every single one of us are equals. I personally don't vote because I try to walk the line. If there was going to be a tie, that's when I'm going to vote. I am not your servant. I am not your slave. I deserve the same respect on how I talk to you. I expect that I get that in return. I'm not your husband's. I'm not your wife's. I'm not your children. I would expect that moving forward, you think twice, and this is not for everybody, but those know, you know who I'm talking to, because it's more than one. So this should be really the last time that this needs to be said. We all deserve respect, but it's really tough sometimes when you don't show respect. I don't respond to vicious emails. I don't take anybody's demands. None of you pay me to do that. When you start paying me a big fat salary, maybe I'll consider it. But I'm a volunteer just like you. And there's others that are on this call that are volunteers just like you. Our assembly meetings, especially our business meetings, are for the committee heads or whoever is going to be speaking on behalf of that committee for the business meeting is representing the work that the committees have done throughout the month. This is the report. Any work that needs to be done goes back to the committees. When your committee is a part of a assembly, a pillar, you first do the work with the committee. That's where all the hashing goes on. You work it all out. Then you bring it, you agree within that committee. Then you bring your work to the assembly, the pillar, the jural assembly, the militia assembly, the general business assembly, the international business assembly. There's an agreement there. Then if a presentation needs to be made, that's when you follow our agenda. You connect with Jeanette or myself to get it on the agenda. We're going to make sure, and we have been making sure when people follow the process, that your presentation is heard. And then depending upon what the issues are, we then either can vote on it right then and there. There are things that you can vote on quickly, or as you're going to see later on in the meeting towards the end, there's going to be at times information for everybody to take back, read it over the week, come back with your questions. If we need to make adjustments, it goes back to the committees. Again, that's where the work is done. Then again, it goes through that same process again. So this is a business meeting. We've got a lot of work to do. And so for those that are new, especially this business meeting, those that are going to report on behalf of the committees will talk a little bit about what they were able to accomplish this past month, maybe some challenges that they have, but then also what their objectives, plans, goals are for the coming month. So again, we've got a lot of work to do. Let's move forward. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your understanding. And Jeanette, I yield back to you.
Can I get a point of clarification here?
Yes,
There's some discussion that someone doesn't want their First Amendment right, that only the committee heads could vote. Is there anyone here in attendance who is voting that they don't want to repeal this vote? Anybody speak up. That's not just the committee heads. That's not the spokesman, the chairman. Any person who's not looking to repeal this vote, speak now. The record shows a unanimous. If you're not in a unanimous vote, please speak up now. Thank you. The vote carries. I yield back the floor.
This is Greer, may I?
Yes, Greer.
Well, in the move, it says, bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in appropriate manner. So
we're not in discussion
So-
of the Evans decision. We're in discussion over repealing back where we said people cannot talk negatively. That's the vote.
All right. Can I get a point of order here?
Yes.
All right. The discussion for that topic is over. We have business to move on. And Greer, this isn't, being nasty or anything. But if there's additional issues, there are committees that you can bring your grievances to. That's where the work is going to be done as we are moving forward. This is a business to report. And that's what we're doing here. So as far as the vote, it's done, it's over. There's no need for a discussion. We're moving forward with our reports.
I understand that, but it was not unanimous. I did not vote.
Well, that's why Cynthia asked, was there anybody that was voting no? So are you stating you're changing your vote to a no, you disagree?
I didn't change it. I didn't vote in the first place, but after reading that, then I have to vote no.
That's fair. Marshal at Arms, do you have the correction on that vote?
Marshal at Arms finds Greer Vestal the only one that wants to give up her First Amendment right. So recorded.
Simply a yes or no. All right.
I don't get how that's giving up a First Amendment right.
Well, that's the vote we just took, was to repeal that First Amendment right to give the freedom of speech back to the people, but they're held accountable now for their words. Sorry.
How does that say that?
We just read it.
Yes, before every meeting, the Marshal at Arms reads, bearing false.
That's the Bevins decision.
All right, I'm going to take over for a minute, Cynthia.
Go ahead.
The discussion is not appropriate at this time, right? We're out of order. The meeting's back over to the moderator, Jeanette. That piece of business is done and in the books. If there's an issue, bring it to a committee. That's where it goes moving forward. Jeanette, I yield to you.
Thank you, Dominic. Gwen, I'm sure you had your hand up for some discussion on that, but could you put your hand down at this point, please? Thank you. So we're going to move on to the committee reports. So next up is the state coordinator, Dominic Battistella.
Thank you, Jeanette. This past Thursday on the coordinator training, I just want to remind everybody that all are welcome to join that particular call. This past Thursday, I think from North Carolina, we probably had 12 to 15 people that were on that call. So good job in getting there. There's always a lot of good information. A lot of it, you're able to learn what is the role of the coordinator, although the conversation for sure is not restricted to the role of a coordinator. They go off on some pretty interesting topics. Anna will also give a good update on what she's been able to accomplish during the week on that call. So I would encourage everybody to that can or that has an interest in joining that particular call. For some of you that are new and not aware of it, I actually speak with Anna on a regular basis. You know, a lot of times it's just how do you deal with a situation like this? What would your guidance be? So even though I don't come back and broadcast it to the whole assembly, you know, those conversations take place, and sometimes they're as simple as a text message. And I can say that Anna does a good job at getting back in a timely fashion to get our questions answered. So part of the role of the coordinator, and a main part of the role, is to be the voice between the assembly here in North Carolina and the Federation. So if you, as a living man, as a living woman, have a question and you're having a hard time finding it, I mean, the first thing is we really should take personal responsibility as a self-governed living man or woman to try to do that research on our own. And I would say here in North Carolina, we've got a lot of good researchers. We do uncover a lot of good information. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Feel free to get that information. With that, you know, the assembly, all of the committees that Jeanette pointed out and called upon, So that you're hearing it from the horse's mouth, these committees are here. They are functioning. They are learning as they go along. Are they 100% up and running? No, but they are up and running. The coordinator did not shut down all the committees on North Carolina. This is some of the information that comes out. So that if you are hearing any information like that, again, these committees are operating. These committees are functioning. These committees are making progress. So it's important that you know truth, true facts. See, there's two types of facts. There's your truth versus my truth, but then there's true fact. And as living men and women on the land and the soil, we deal with true fact, fact that can be substantiated, not based on a feeling, what you think, what you anticipate. I'd like to put another rumor to bed. Most of you know I had a little fire on my back porch going back about 2 weeks ago. And that fire was caused by my stupidity. I thought I crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's when I was cleaning out my smoker. And I must have left an ember in a bucket. And the wind came and caught my deck on fire. Nobody committed arson at my house. Nobody committed arson at my house. It was my stupidity. The fire marshal did a full and thorough investigation, and it was deemed as an accident. So if you're hearing a rumor, you heard it from the horse's mouth. That is what you call true fact. Another rumor. I have somebody that is threatening me. Let me tell you, there is absolutely nobody that is threatening me. Nobody. So that might be somebody's truth, but it's not true fact. So you're hearing it from the horse's mouth what true fact is. Nobody is threatening me. Nobody is trying to twist my arm to do something that I shouldn't do. I am not living in fear. That's the other rumor. For those of you who really know me, I don't live in fear. I really don't. I do not live in fear. It might be somebody else's truth, but the true fact is, I do not live in fear. I'm not concerned about anybody trying to do anything to me. So just a couple of rumors that are floating around out there that people are saying. Okay, so I wanted to use this as a part of my report back to the assembly, because the assembly should know this information. The assembly needs to know this information. And as we're talking about truth, I'm going to repeat this again. There is your truth, what you think. There's my truth, what I think. But the real truth is true fact. What can be substantiated? What can we show as our our support, our backing of what takes place in our lives? So remember that when somebody says this is the truth, well, ask yourself the question: is it their truth? Is it your truth? Or is it true fact? We have to learn this as an assembly. We need to learn how to question It's the question behind the question to get underneath to know what the true fact is. So I wanted to just kind of share that with you. So another true fact is this, and most of you know this because I've spoken about this a number of times. We have a strong working relationship with Ohio. We've been working with Ohio on technology issues. Oh, geez, David, it's got to be 8 months now, a good 8 months, maybe longer. Now that's my truth, but a true fact, we do really have to go back and look and see exactly when that date was, but somewhere in that ballpark. And through that and other relations and communications that I've had with Lisa Schaefer over the years, there's kind of like a bond, right? We a lot of us think the same way. And by the way, there's a couple of people on this call that also have relationships with living men and women on Ohio as well. So we trade information, we share information. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned this also, I believe I did, is that we're working on a treaty between the two states. Right now, Lisa and her state are focused on getting the final pieces to get fully stood up. But the beauty of the relationship is a lot of their documents, a lot of their policies and procedures have already been approved. And so they're sharing because of the agreements and her interactions. She and her team are willing to help us however they can. So one of the things that they have shared with us, and they're really supportive in this, is their operating procedures. And so they actually gave us their entire Ohio Assembly guidelines, structure, and meetings. That's already been approved by the Federation. They got a thumbs up on it. So we put together a committee that has been working. They probably have a good, well, I'm going to say we're probably sitting somewhere around 8 to 10 hours, possibly, because there's stuff that even happened before the committee. And they're almost completely have gone through and made updates to be more, set up for North Carolina versus Ohio. And so this is possibly going to be complete. It could be complete in its, I'll say its second draft to where they're going to be ready to present it to the Assembly. It may even go out tomorrow to the entire Assembly. And so the assignment would be for everybody within the Assembly to read through this. It's pretty detailed. I mean, it's only about 34, maybe 35 pages, but it's pretty detailed. And it takes the structure that we have in running our Assembly meetings and even our committee meetings, and it takes it out to that next level that we have to. And so you might ask, well, why do we have to get involved with some of this stuff? Putting policies and procedures in place. So I want you to think about this. Steve earlier mentioned that we now have a total of 241 living men and women on the Assembly. Not all of the 241 participate. They choose not to. You don't have to participate in your government. We would encourage that you do. I think that's a very important thing. So for those that are consistently involved, thank you for the time and the dedication that you put in. We looked at the population on North Carolina, and this is another message coming from Anna, and she really hit this hard in our conversation one-on-one, and I know she spoke a little bit about it last night. On North Carolina, we've got 10.8 million people right now in the state. Just a year ago, people were saying 10.4 million. It's now up to 10.8. By the year 2030, they're projecting that the population on North Carolina will be 11,700,000. Think about that growth. More frequently, Anna has been talking about the tsunami coming, right? This big wave of people. All of a sudden, things are going to really be exposed, and people are going to learn about their inheritance that they're owed. They're going to see even more, a lot of the fraud that's being handed down to them with the subcontractors, the incorporated so-called government, and they're going to be coming back in waves. So all of a sudden, we're averaging 10, 11, 12 new people every single month. Can you imagine if it's in the thousands of people coming back? And so part of the work that we need to do as an assembly is strengthen the number of people that are participating in the committees, having our processes in place. I'll give you an example. So when we do the Bevins decision, we talk about our guidelines, our process that we have in place, how we structure our meetings, the protocol, things of that nature. Can you imagine? Now tonight we're light. We only have about 52 people on the call. I know the number says 40. Well, last I saw it was 45. Now it's 47. So that actually puts us up to about 54. But can you imagine all of a sudden you've got 2,000 people, 10,000 people? By that time, we'll have hopefully our counties operating. But all of a sudden, this group of people come in, how crazy it can be, how out of control it could be. But going back to the guidelines, and some of these were voted on by the assembly before I was even a member of the assembly. And so when we do certain things, it's the people that have to be involved in the process, putting the processes together, the guidelines. It's where your participation is critically important and needed. And then when we make a vote, when we take a vote, there's a move, and then you take that vote. It's in place. And then if you're going to change it, it's got to go back to a committee. The committee's got to go through it. It just doesn't change because somebody says something, right? It's got to go through that process. So this book, guidebook that they're working on, please, when you get it, go through and read it. I don't know that there's going to be a need for adjustments, but if you see something, by all means, you raise the issue, right? You raise your question. So read through it. Start writing down your questions. We'll have the meeting set aside where that's what we do. We'll take and we'll answer all the questions that you have. If we see that there's something in there that definitely needs to be changed, those that are bringing the issue to the table, the expectation would be that you then join the committee and work with the committee to make those changes. That's how our government's supposed to work. And then if the committee agrees, they can bring it back up through the system, right? They vote on it as a committee, they bring it up to their assembly, then they bring it to the General Assembly for that vote again. So I would encourage everybody to read it, take notes, prepare your questions, make sure you understand it. And then once the assembly votes on it, that's a part of our process. The people have spoken. And that's how we've been operating things as we move forward. So with that, I am going to yield. If anybody that is on that committee has something they'd like to add, if I miss something, by all means, I will yield to you. With that, I yield. Back to you, Jeanette. Then.
Thank you, Dominic. So at this time, we have no other new business. So as always, if you want to add anything to the agenda, please contact me or Dominic by the end of the day on Sunday, so we can add it to the agenda for the following week's meeting. Dominic, did you want to say something about the Saturday morning coffee thing or training or not?
Yeah, I'll say something about it.
Yeah.
So this was more of a spontaneous thing, actually. I've been talking with David Hopkins in the training committee meetings, and we talked about doing something, and then we got a number of people that raised a concern. There's not really a platform to have questions answered in a format like this. Yes, I know some of you deal with the Telegram and other channels, but they wanted something where in real time they could have a discussion. So we put together a session this past Saturday. And Cynthia, what were the number of people that participated? And it was close to 30.
About 32 off and on. Some came, some left. It went on for 3 hours. So about 32 in total.
Yeah. So we asked the group if they'd like to continue to do that, and unanimously they said yes. So what we're going to do is just continue to run with it. There's a lot of basic fundamental information that we can disseminate to, especially our newest members to the assembly. So yes, we're gonna continue to do that. Right now, until the training committee with the new member orientation is they're going to work on a more structured type of a program. There's plenty of stuff that myself and others are able to deal with, without any issues. A lot of it I do when I travel to different locations to talk to different groups. So that's what we're going to do. It's a place where you can have your questions asked as well as having answered. And so we would invite everybody. So the invitation will go out to everybody, but it's up to you. You're a free living man or woman, whether you want to take advantage of it. But that's just another time and platform to be able to grow as a member of the assembly, as an American state national or as an American state citizen. I do.
Thank you, Dominic. So this is a general business meeting for the North Carolina Assembly, September 3rd, 2024. So the next step is our Militia Committee, Membership Committee, Joe McDougall.
Well, we've had, I believe it was 2 meetings in the month of August, and membership was up. Everyone receives an invite to the militia committee. And I would appreciate if everyone would consider, those that are not coming, if you would consider coming in, at least setting in and listening. Even if you don't want to participate right now, at least come in, set in and listen, and determine whether it is a fit for you. We have a meeting coming up on this coming Monday, and I'm giving you a formal invite to please come in and join us. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Joe. So next up, our state coordinator, Dominic Battistella.
Thank you, Jeanette. And I want to thank all of our spokespeople, those that are stepping up to help out with the different committees, those that are stepping up to join committees. And although sometimes it seems like the progress we're making is slow, we are making progress in so many different areas. So I just want to thank everybody for the outstanding work, your time, your dedication. Some information that needs to be shared is coming directly from correspondence that took place within our assembly this week and directly from Anna von Wright. So I want to make sure that we're on the record and we're sharing this information. Hopefully, as I go through some of this information, we can look at it with an open mind. We can look at it from the perspective of we are still a very, very young assembly. We're learning in so many different areas. Some of us, we learn a little bit and we think we got it all wrapped in bow tie and we're an expert at it, and then we find out that no, we're not anywhere near close. So as we're looking at different things, we all have to be able to look to ourselves and say, okay, what do I myself have to do to self-correct? And if there's something that somebody else has done, they're still learning too. We got to learn how to give grace wherever we can, and remember the main reason why we're all here. We don't like the way things have been run. We've understood what the different crimes against humanity have been, not only in our country, but all around the world it's happened. And so I'm going to use this email string. It's a little bit lengthy, so I apologize for that. And what I'm going to do is actually share this with everybody so that you can see it. And I'm going to do some reading, and I've asked Jeanette, as my throat has been kind of bad these last few days.
Okay.
To jump in when I need it. So
Okay.
I'll start off. So to give you some content, our oversight committee met a couple of times as we're trying to get that committee up and running, because the oversight committee is an important committee for our assembly. So there's right now about 7 people that are on that committee, and I think last week we announced who they were. And so anyways, after a meeting, Joe Callender shot off an email to Anna von Wright. And for the record, I want it to be known, everybody that's on the call, I speak with Anna pretty regularly. Sometimes it's a simple text message exchange when I've got a question. Sometimes it's an email, and sometimes we get on the phone and we talk for whatever period of time we need to. So anyways, and by the way, I keep her abreast of the progress that we're making on North Carolina. I share with her the challenges that I see as a coordinator on North Carolina, and she always gives great guidance. So anyways, Joel Callender is writing to Anna, and he says, I'm a retired 78-year-old ex-coal miner, volunteer 2-tour Vietnam Marine Corps vet, regional support, medical service engineer with little formal education. This isn't going to be pretty, but I'll give it the best shot I got. Here goes. I had suspicions before the start of this timeline, but I have evidence within this timeline that should stand. July 5, 2024, Guidelines and Structure Meeting Review. July 9, 2024, Guidelines and Structures Meetings Finalized. No longer has a contractor for decorum agreement dropped from the title and a firm change to receive at the signature. July 16, 2024, around 1300, I received a phone call from Dominique. By the way, that's a female's French name. And I think everybody sees my emails. It's spelled, my name is spelled Domenic. while I was driving home with my wife from visiting her family in Virginia. On my car phone, after a brief discussion, he asked me if I would participate in the Oversight Committee for the North Carolina General Assembly. I said yes. When I got home, I started going through your online articles, see what I got myself into. I came across 3320, 3816, which stipulates that the Oversight Committee should be under the Ombudsman's Committee. At the previous guideline and structure meeting of the 9th, I remember seeing the Oversight Committee above the Ombudsman's Committee in the structure part of the manual. I realized that there was a mistake, not only in what we were about to offer to our General Assembly, but the documentation that they had copied from Ohio General Assembly. I called Dominic 1606, the same day, July 16th, requesting that he check with you about articles which specified the Oversight Committee goes under the Ombudsman Committee, and our structure was incorrect in our manual and Ohio's, and that you should call Anna immediately and let her know. Well, didn't seem to face him at all. Pretty much said that you, Anna, had read the Ohio documentation and approved. We talked a bit longer, and I couldn't but feel it was important that you find out there was a possible mistake. So I asked him again to contact you. He said he would bring it up at the next coordinators meeting. When I spoke with him yesterday.
Progress.
I'm sorry? When I spoke with him yesterday, and I guess that's 2022-2408. I don't know what that means. He said he tried to get up with you 5 different occasions since then, but you have been unavailable for this and other questions that he had been waiting to ask. July 17, 2024, Oversight Committee, 19 July 2024, Friday, got up around 7:30 as normal. We usually leave for Gold's Gym about 8:10 for a session with Tai Chi at 8:30. I'm not sure why, but I checked my secure email and found that there was going to be a document review meeting at 9 o'clock. The invitation was sent out at the o'clock in the morning. Now there was only one document that I've been involved in, and that was the guideline and structure document should be going to the General Assembly. I knew something was afoot, so I canceled my Tai Chi engagement and attended what Dominic called an ad hoc document review committee meeting. Article, Dominic greeted everybody and mentioned that a couple of the ladies who were rather outspoken against him earlier were not able to attend as they were on the road. Star. That's when I realized they didn't get a call either, or he was probably lying. Star. As the meeting continued, I suggested that he did not have the right create committee to review a document that had already been slated for the General Assembly vote. He very adamantly and confidently stated that he had the authority to create a committee whenever he needed, probably not Article 4443. At that point, Marshal at Arms went ballistic on me, indicating rather harshly that I needed to study more. As things continued, I asked him again about the Misplaced Oversight Committee in relationship with the Ombudsman Committee. He said, not now, we'll take that offline later. Now I am certain there is a problem. When it came down to discussion, I told everybody it wouldn't be proper to make any changes. The original guidelines and structure document created by the Guidelines and Structure Committee. It was made a motion and we all voted in agreement. Dominic is very good distributing information that he wants distributed. He sends out invitations to all the Zoom meetings with the Marshal at Arms. She manages the mute button. He has an agenda for each meeting in the Zoom invite. And if there are any documents to be discussed or voted on, they will also be included. He opens the meeting, the marshal at arms reads the veteran's statement and Styline's list of do's and don'ts, and I expect the spokesperson gives the report. As of today, I have not seen where that guideline and structure document has come before the General Assembly to be approved by vote. Were sent back to committee. My personal opinion is that the Ohio document has been inserted into our General Assembly documentation by his cronies. I have no way of checking. Perhaps you could ask for a copy of your records. Might not hurt to see all of the assembly structure guidelines. Just check to see where the oversight committee is placed and ******. He has on numerous occasions voiced and written in public notice that he has the authority to appoint spokespersons, and with the responsibility comes the unappointed authority also. See attached public notice, Karen Staff 03 speaks for itself. I disagree, but perhaps my interpretation of Article 2873, number 4, coordinators help place new assembly members is flawed. I don't think this gives coordinators hire and fire more around, do whatever you want authority. It was my understanding that once a person was on the committee, that the only way for them to be removed was through their committee action or through General Assembly action. If that is not the case, please let me know. Everything above here is my personal experience, firsthand knowledge, evidence in the Zoom recording and committee attendance. The document notice to the North Carolina Assembly, factual background, zip file outlining John Scardina containing this data was compiled for the coordinator, Dominic Battistella, by his first appointed, then elected recording secretary of the North Carolina General Assembly, John Scardina. LS page 1 describes the allegations used to sanction and suspend coordinator hopeful Karen Scaff. The rest of the document is supposed to be the evidence that backs this up. Page 1, item 1, my comments. The run-on sentence describing her first as he, then as she neglects to mention her only resource for defense, for what she believes is her improper removal from the militia committee, is direct communication with the General Assembly. There also appears to be an attack on her family farm, attached 1, indicating that it is not unincorporated. What is a municipal United States franchise? It appears to be made up of peers condemning. I could not find that type of franchise listed anywhere on the internet. I did that. She had registered her farm, assumed name attached. Page 1, item 2, March 28, 2024, attachment 2, ombudsman sanction from ad hoc disciplinary committee meeting. Page 2, item 3, August 4, 2024, attachment 2A, request to attend public meetings supported by Anna's Rumble coordinator training meeting. Page 1, item 4, August 6, 2024, attachment 3, second request to attend public meeting, re-attack on farm as non-existent municipal United States franchise. Page 5, item 5, August 6.
Point of order, sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, I apologize. I do have something to say from Joel. You do not have his permission.
No.
You do not have his permission to read this. I just got a text from Joel. You do not have
Carry on.
It's public information. August 6, 2024, attached 5 email to Assembly meeting moderator coordinator ombudsman request for General Assembly ombudsman sanction approved date end meeting recorded voice information attached, another attached on farm legacy. Legitimacy, sorry. August 21, 2024 attachment email should be attached 6 and attachment 6 screen. Was sent along the email misrepresentation of data compelling. 8 August 21, 24, part of misrepresentation data in another attack on farm legitimacy. Page 1, item 9, domino gaffe will probably come to pass. The attached outline was put together by a member of the Oversight Committee, John Stardina, March 8, 2024, outline page 1 and 2. This is the
And
date.
what is the point?
Anna's got a
Carry
response.
carry on. I shall remove her from the call. Point of order. Carry
Anna's
on.
got a response. For those who want to know, Anna's got a response that answers all of these. So it's important that we hear both sides. This is the date of the public notice, public state notice and demand. Why was the North Carolina militia leader removed from the militia, suspended? Indicating in previous action by the coordinator relieving Karen Scaff of her spokesperson's duty on the militia committee. This is the first action of which I have public access. Observe that the public state notice and demand does not have the origination date posted. March 13, outline page 3 through 9. Karen Scaff uses the militia email list to alert the North Carolina Assembly of improper action being taken by their leaders. Somewhere between March 13 and March 28, 24, Dominic convinced an ad hoc disciplinary committee with the Ombudsman Committee, 2 to 3 people in other elected committee positions, people that he has appointed and pushed to be elected marshal at arms, recording secretary, ombudsman, and treasurer, all of whom I feel fairly certain sent written complaints, had to prove unbiased, suggesting she used the military email list for advertising. March 28, 2024, Ombudsman issues sanction notice to Karen Scaff. August 24th, Karen Scaff attends coordinator training meeting and requests the following in an email. Dominic, please add me to the email list for the assembly meeting. Below are the words of Anna that confirm the request that I am making through this email. Karen Scaff on August 6th asks again, since there was no response to the first request. Dominic responds, Karen, this decision was not made by one man, but by a committee and then the assembly. So this decision will need to be made. I'll let you know when the assembly decides. Thank you for reaching out. August 6th, Karen Scaff specifies common law practice. A decision cannot be made when I am not present to defend myself. Review American common law. Page 16, 17 are duplicates of page 13, 14. August 13, Karen Scaff requests the date of the General Assembly meeting where the vote to sanction took place from moderator Jeanette Stardina. Wants records, complaints, and meetings to defend herself before the General Assembly. August 20, Karen Scaff texts to see if access to the meeting is available after specifying Anna's coordinator training meeting dialogue. August 21, Karen Scaff reiterates Anna's statement that no one can be denied access to the public meeting. The screenshot, page 22, demonstrates that she still has no access to the public meeting. Attached following domino gaffe is the last document of the notice to the North Carolina Assembly documents. We have had 3 oversight committee meetings conducted by the coordinator and marshal at arms. In the last 2 meetings, they have been lobbying to increase Karen Scaff's suspension. I believe what I have finished tonight is my best effort at due diligence in presenting the data that I have received. Tomorrow night, we have another oversight committee meeting, which I'm sure coordinator and marshal at arms will demand that we make a decision. It is unlikely that the marshal at arms controlling the mute button that I will be able to finish this report. I suspect there will be an attempt to shut down the oversight committee. I hope you get this before it happens. So Anna responds, let's take it one at a time. And this is the real part that you would need to pay attention to, because we're going to learn something here. Okay, this is coming directly from Anna. This isn't coming from Dominic. It's coming directly from Anna as they've done their investigation. Let's take it one at a time. Oversight versus ombudsman is the same difference as criminal versus civil proceedings. They are separate ideas and functions, though they can be related. Ombudsmen are arbitration guys who try to work through problems and find solutions. They advocate the people's rights and a proper understanding of our rights when we deal with each other to promote peaceful resolutions to problems. The Oversight Committee is under the Ombudsman Committee in the sense that the civilian stands over the military or police function in our government. It doesn't imply that the Ombudsman Committee rules over the Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee is where you take complaints of a criminal nature. You discover someone has their hand in the till, for example. You take that to the Oversight, not the Ombudsman. In the course of our lives, we start out as a civil issue can turn into a criminal issue. So something that starts out in the ombudsman's office may eventually morph into a criminal issue and wind up going to the oversight. So this can be a bit confusing, but the easy way to remember is ombudsman's aim at resolving civil disputes. Oversight deals with criminal activities that may or may not be happening. Once our system is up and rolling, the Oversight Committee is often the first spot on the way to the grand jury. Let's see here, what page are we on? This is 8. Here we say,
You should go to part 2.
yeah, that was page what?
Yeah, here it is.
Here it is, okay. So sometimes trying to piece this together on the email strings the way they have in today is crazy. Part 2, about initial committee assignments during the assembly process. It is our custom and tradition that everyone pretty much serves on whatever committee they want to serve on and have expertise or interest in. For example, you may not have any military experience, but you are a housewife and you want to learn more about self-defense and first aid and see the need for parents to learn this. So you join the Militia Education Committee. There is nothing wrong or anything preventing our housewives from joining the committee. She is as welcome as everyone else, even though she doesn't have expertise. She's learning and pursuing her interests, and that's okay. Ideally, she will gain the skills she needs to go on to teach other parents. I don't know the particulars of why Dominic appointed Karen and then removed her early on. It can be necessary for a coordinator to headhunt and try to find people who have particular skill and interest and draft them to do the work. Apparently, Karen has skills related to or needed by the militia. So Dominic asked her to serve on the committee, correct? Dominic asked her to work on specific things. A guidebook for the militia was the first goal. More than a year later, this guidebook still is not finished. Pursuant to the project and other basic work needed to get the militia started and operational, Karen was given access to the assembly roster. The General Assembly had already voted to keep the membership roster private, and the only few people were given access. The militia was given access to the roster specifically to be able to contact members in the event of a disaster emergency. Karen knew that this was the purpose and intent and limitation on the militia's use of the roster. Knowing this, Karen used the roster to do a private mass mailing to members that had nothing to do with any disaster or even related to any militia activity to prepare for a disaster or an emergency scenario. This is a betrayal of trust that the assembly as a whole had the right to expect because of the prior vote and the conditions under which the roster was provided to Karen. More than a dozen members who received this out-of-school communication from Karen objected about the privacy of the roster being violated. The Ombudsman Committee met and voted to give Karen a substantial timeout that ends in September, specifically for this abuse of trust and misuse of the roster. This is a very specific bit of wrongdoing on her part, and she was disciplined for it. The General Assembly had already voted to keep the roster private, so there wasn't any need to take it back before the General Assembly. The Ombudsman Committee considered whether or not Karen's use of the roster could be considered appropriate, and within the limits specified for the malicious use of the roster, determined it was not and issued a timeout accordingly. Dominic could have done this all by himself based on the General Assembly vote. The instructions given to Karen about the use of the roster had subsequent misuse of it. I really fail to see what this has to do with farmers at all, other than the fact that Karen is a farmer. Now there is rumbling about common law and facts and evidence and trials, etc. But this isn't anything related to law. What Karen did isn't a crime. It's a breach of trust vested in her by the General Assembly and by Dominic, especially as he is the one who recommended her and administratively remedied was all that is or was appropriate, and that is precisely what has been done. As for being denied access to public meetings, the general public is allowed to attend our meetings as guests. They don't get to participate or speak or vote, but they can peaceably attend and observe if the General Assembly or other assembly pillars need to close a meeting to consider sensitive information that has to do with the internal workings of the assembly. They can close the public meeting and ask members of the general public to leave at that point. It is my understanding that Karen had attended or attempted to attend numerous other committee meetings during her timeout and has continued to try to make herself look like a victim and as if there were political motives behind the disciplinary actions taken by the Ombudsman Committee. Her attendance at these meetings and the disruption she has caused during these meetings is another offense, not only violating her timeout, but creating more problems. Do any of us have time or energy to deal with someone who isn't bothering to honor the trust placed in her, who didn't focus on the work entrusted in her, which was simply to develop the guidebook and acting as a spokesperson for the militia committee, who complains and misrepresents the circumstances as some kind of an attack on farmers when she knowingly does something wrong and gets set down for it? Karen knew she wasn't supposed to use that roster for any personal politicking. Come to that, she and everyone else who enters one of our assemblies has been given more than adequate forewarning that we don't do politics, period, at all. It's not even appropriate in a community-based government setting. All this he said, she said, isn't helping anyone or anything. So my advice to Karen and to you is to learn from this. When the General Assembly votes to keep something private, keep it private. When you are tasked with getting the project like the guidebook's done, do it. And for God's sake, when you do something that is obviously wrong, don't scream like a little kid getting your britches toasted for the first time. Unless Karen learns to conduct herself with some care for others' rights, in this case, the rights to privacy, and until she leaves politics and victimhood behind, she will be a bad fit for the American Assembly. The refusal to take responsibility for her own action is a bad sign that she is still very much acting upon assumptions and indoctrination carried over from the de facto government. We don't operate by pointing fingers, choosing sides, and squealing like wet cats. Her assumptions that she is or was owing some kind of trial or litigation as a remedy for disciplinary action is another bad sign. All the members of the North Carolina Assembly who voted to keep the membership roster private were injured by her action, and she wants to present herself as the injured party. I wouldn't recommend it. The nanny state teaches that people aren't responsible for anything, that we are incompetent and dependent and can't do things for ourselves and can't discipline ourselves. Thus, we are always victims, even of our own actions. But we Americans believe in self-governance, which begins with disciplining ourselves. For example, not taking advantage of access to an assembly roster to spread whatever our pet peeve is, or to attack the very people who place you in the position of trust. We discipline our minds to sort fact from fiction. We discipline our hearts to discern both justice and compassion. We discipline ourselves to get work done, and we don't stand around griping and blaming because we don't always get our own way. In the great scheme of things, what Karen did wrong was relatively trivial. But the basic fundamental realization that she did something wrong and that she is responsible for her actions is not trivial. That's very important. In fact, it is crucial to her future overall, as well as any future she has with the North Carolina Assembly. That's why we give people timeouts to think about what we did and how that impacted other people and the organization as a whole, and to make corrections in the right direction. Trying to turn the situation into a cause célèbre, I can never pronounce that word, and acting as a victim and using it to stir the pot and allege some kind of prejudice against farmers simply won't do. This might work in the de facto world, but it won't pass muster here. So Karen either needs to soak her head, realize what she did wrong, and accept that she deserved the timeout for it, or hike on down to the nearest district assembly and use all those, and I think I have to go back to page 8.
Top of page 6.
Boys in power, politics, and victimhood she's learned on them. None of that is appropriate in our assemblies. I think that was it on this one, right?
That was it.
Hello?
So after that email, so a meeting was being put together. Our committee discussed sharing the spokesperson tasks amongst the available committee members. And an earlier meeting looks like my turn. After a careful review of the notice to the North Carolina Assembly provided by our coordinator and recording secretary, I have some questions that need to be discussed by our committee and shared with the Ombudsman Committee. Some of the discussions will include the coordinator and marshal at arms, so they will not be in attendance. I have solicited assistance in setting up a Zoom call and will send invites and agenda to our committee and references. Most of you are aware that I walked out of the last meeting for ethical reasons. Please tell me that no vote was taken after my departure. I discovered with further research and assistance from our aspiring federal marshal Doug Cobb that had I voted during that meeting, I could be criminally charged for obstruction. After a topic is slated for General Assembly discussion and vote, any action taken subsequent to the pending general meeting and vote by a committee member or person that interferes with that action are open for criminal investigation and possible charges. On the August 6th, during the General Assembly business meeting, a motion was made to review the sanctions placed on Karen Scaff. It was voted and passed by 20-9, actually it was 20-11, by the Assembly members present. He stated that ignorance of the law is no excuse. Please send me a brief description of your transpired after I left the meeting, and please list the order of which you would be able to meet tomorrow, which would have been Monday the 2nd, date times. I think we may expect some resistance to this meeting. We, however, are the Oversight Committee and we have a job to do. So this made its way to Anna. And her title is Exactly What Do You Think You Are Doing? The only thing approaching a crime that you have discussed with me is the Karen Scaff disciplinary action. So what do you mean by further stirring the pot? There is a clear offense against the pre-existing General Assembly vote to keep the membership roster private, against the instructions given to the militia leader regarding their possible use of the membership roster. Karen Scaff's violation, both the vote and her instructions to vent her own fears and spleen, which is clearly a breach of trust related to her position. Karen Scaff was appropriately punished for this by the members of the Ombudsman Committee, acting to review the actions to determine whether or not it could be construed as an allowable use of the roster within the means of the instruction. And they, not Dominic, not Cynthia Pinkston, who appear to be the joint object of any continuing witch hunt, determined that no, Karen's action was not an allowable use of the membership roster within the meaning and intent of the Assembly vote and the instructions that the militia gave concerning the use of the roster, period. Kindly cease and desist any more obstruction, rabble-rousing, secret meetings, secret charges, and other nonsense. We have thoroughly investigated this situation and there is no crime in evidence on either side, therefore nothing for any oversight committee to investigate. If you want additional coordinators, you need to step up and provide them. If you want new marshals at arms, it is up to you. It is up to the General Assembly to elect them. And if you want to cause trouble and disunity and abuse of power vested in the Oversight Committee, it is my responsibility to put an end to such activities. Do we understand each other, Anna Marie? So we want to hear the communications directly from the Federation. It doesn't get any clearer than that. So with that, I yield with my report.
Thank you, Dominic.